Hey folks, I just wanted to respond to a comment on YouTube. I thought was kind of interesting. There's a couple of different parts to it, but I'm gonna read through it, and I want to talk about when you're working in a role and the things that you're doing are not necessarily on the surface things that you're excited about or they don't feel aligned with the direction that you want to be going. How you can maybe steer things a little bit. So this person said, "I got a job in a dev role, and they were expecting it to be a dev role, but they said the way they said it was ended up getting testing, and then they say right after, I hate myself now." Which is pretty strong language. Obviously, I don't know this person. I've never talked to them. Maybe they just sort of use exaggerated language, but that's a pretty strong thing to say. I hate myself now as I did LeetCode my whole engineering. They said I've solved more than 800 problems but never learned development, which is real engineering or databases. I think what they're saying, I can't. Okay, so just to be transparent, I can't tell if they're saying that they hate themselves now because they are in a testing role or because they feel like they've wasted time doing lead code. So this is why I said there's a couple of different things I want to talk about here. I'm going to touch on the lead code part very briefly so I don't annoy everyone with my, repeated view on lead code. But they go on to say, I will do it now as I have learned from my mistakes. So again, I don't know. I think that means that they're going to try to go learn air quotes real engineering and databases, and then hope that someday they become a software engineer despite their current role or situations. So, a couple things. I don't think that just gonna get this out of the way. I do not think LeetCode is a good proxy for what we do as software developers. I think it's one of the most useless measures of it. Personally, I think it's. I think that there's people that use it for gatekeeping, or they can't think of a better way, and it's just what they've been told is useful. I don't think any of it translates well. There are so many other things that I would rather use. So for this person that said they solved more than 800 problems, I hope that you enjoyed it, and it was like fun problems to solve, and because some people enjoy that kind of challenge. I think that it's probably helpful for interviewing. Unfortunately, that's the reality I see. Is like I think it's useless for actual, and I shouldn't say useless. That's not fair for me to say. I think that if it's exercising your ability to problem solve, then there's a use there. I don't think that it translates well into real software development, but if you find that it's enhancing some skill for you, excellent. Not for me to say that it cannot do that for you. But yeah, it's probably helpful for interviewing because a lot of companies will ask you leak code style questions. But the thing that I really wanted to focus on here was around this line near the beginning. I got a job, was expecting to get a dev role, but ended up getting testing. I don't know in their comment if this is the focal point, if they're like, I'm upset because this is what I ended up with. I can't tell. Or if the comment was mostly about the leak code misrepresentation with software engineering. So I wanted to get that part out of the way and talk about this role thing. First of all, I think that because of the current job market, that if you're getting into a role and it's maybe not first, if you were misled, like sorry to hear that. I think that's not really fair. But I do think that if you're in something that's even adjacent to writing code, like in your role as a tester, I don't know if they're like letting you automate things and that kind of stuff. I would hope that they do if it's all just manual testing and there's room to automate. Like maybe that's something you could do and you could write code for that. But being in a paid role that's at least adjacent to what you want to be doing, I would say is not a bad spot to be. It might not be ideal, but I don't think that that's the end of the world. And what I wanted to do is kind of talk through a perspective I've been trying to like form for myself a little bit more concretely, a little bit more purposefully, and That's really around like when we're doing stuff in our roles that doesn't feel like it's awesome. So I wanted to use an example from my own experience and then kind of talk through and translate this for other sort of scenarios. So for me as a software engineering manager, I've been doing this for like, what has it been, like 13 years now? So like that's been a big part of my career. And for me in my career, like I have aspirations for what I would like to be doing, right? So the example for me is like because I have been managing engineering teams for 13 years, and that means managing individual engineers or perhaps other roles within the team. The next evolution of that for me is a couple things. Multiple teams, which I have done and I am doing within my current team. So different areas, different functional areas with different individuals focused on different things. Like that's kind of an evolution. Then the next evolution beyond that is managing the managers like basically managing people that are in my role. That's the evolution of this career path for me. And because it's been 13 years of doing this thing, like for me, I'm like, well, where is this opportunity for managing the people like me? So if I'm working on stuff that is not aligned to that and I notice that I'm doing it for a while, like sometimes that makes me feel like, I'm not doing the thing important for my career. Kind of like with this person saying, like I got a testing role. That's not a developer role. So for me, when I find myself doing this kind of stuff and I'm like, oh, it's not really progressing what I'm doing, what I try to do is say, look, I'm currently, if I'm working on something that I know is important, right? And the example for me specifically, just because it's very relevant, is like on call. I was just on call for 2 weeks, and I've had a lot of on call this year, just because of some team changes and stuff, and I kind of have to step in to go on call. And when I am on call, that is a lot of time and energy where I'm like, this is literally not, translating into career progression for me. I know it's important, but when I think about the time spent, I'm like, like that's not really helping me. So it feels like not a good use of time, right? It's not like an efficient use of where my time and energy is going. But what I've been trying to do is remind myself that in all of these situations, there is an opportunity to learn and to sort of extract value for ourselves. So when I find myself on call, especially in areas where I'm like, man, I don't know about this, right? And this happens a lot. We have a really large service. I have a peer manager, and she manages individuals on our greater team that are responsible for a functional area that I don't touch, like at all on a day-to-day basis. Do I have to know it and understand it? Yes, of course, because it interfaces with our stuff. I'm also responsible for it when I'm on call. But in my day-to-day work, I don't need to know super in-depth compared to the areas that I am actually responsible for. But this becomes an opportunity for me. Instead of going into my on-call rotations and then there's something that comes up in that area and I go, oh shit, like I don't know this. Oh man, it sucks. I have to go deal with this thing that it's not even part of like my area of responsibility day to day. It's not even going to help me grow in my career. Like, why do I have to go do this? This is so frustrating. I'm not even going to be able to help this team that needs help. Like, instead of going into things like this, because it's for me, my personality type, it's very easy for those thoughts to come up because it's almost like frustration or why me. I'm trying to switch things around, and it's almost like running into these things head first, like just diving in and just flipping the whole thing around. Instead of being like, this is so frustrating, I hate it, it's kind of like, okay, like, you have to go do this thing. So instead of being upset about it, what are the things that we can learn? What is the benefit here? Right? There is generalizations that I can take away from trying to debug things like this, right? So in these situations where I'm helping partner teams and they're like, we have this issue and they're like, we don't even know what's up. Sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what's up, because I'm new to this area. So how can, like, what are the lessons as I'm navigating this that I can go reflect on and be like, cool, like this was a more general debugging approach, right? There's going to be pieces to the technology that I'm touching where I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Like there's going to be lessons along the way. There's going to be interactions with these partners where I'm like, okay, just to give you an example, like they're frustrated because they don't know what's up. And I'm frustrated because I don't know what's up. So instead of going into these interactions and being like, well, I'm going to sour the relationship with this partner team, like what are the things that I can learn about these interactions where I can be better sort of in terms of like a support role, right? How can I make them feel more confident in our platform? How can I make sure that I understand their problem more quickly? How can I communicate that I am trying to help, right? There's these lessons that I can try to extract from the work that I'm doing that will be applicable beyond the current work that I'm doing. And I think that mental framing for me is very helpful because instead of being frustrated, like, why me? Why do I have to do this? It's like, cool. What is the opportunity that I can take away from this and apply to the future? And so to go back to this comment around I got stuck in a testing role, I get that might not be the thing that you want to be doing, but there is a lot of interesting stuff that you can learn from testing because, I don't know, historically, at least when I was going through software development as more a junior developer, testing was kind of this thing that a lot of people were like, they're writing code and then they go, oh, I got to test it. Like either code's too complicated for me to go write tests for, so, oh, I guess I can't test it. Right. And then people wouldn't learn from that lesson. They just keep writing code that wasn't testable. So you can sort of learn about that. We had this situation too where developers would say, okay, I'm done. And then they would hand it over to the testers. And then like that kind of relationship was really shitty because immediately the tester would hand it back and be like, yeah, this doesn't work. Like immediately, right? So you do all this work for like a full sprint or whatever, a week, 2 weeks, give it to a tester because you're like confidently done. And then within minutes of them trying it, they're like, this just doesn't work. Like that's not efficient. That's not a good working relationship. So like, what can you learn from being in a testing role that's going to help you be a better developer? What's going to help you work more effectively in a team when you are writing software, when you are in a developer role and having to interface with people who are testers or other developers, right? Like what lessons can you learn from this position that will be applicable for your future? And I think that there is a tremendous amount. And I think that if you're still if you are eager to be a developer, maybe there's opportunities in your role doing testing to write software that will help with the testing. It might not be exactly what you want to be doing in the moment, but can you find those opportunities? If they're just not applicable in your role, or there's, your manager or the way that your team is structured doesn't really support that, which would be unfortunate, like, can you still be writing software on the side, like personal projects and stuff? So you're still building stuff while you're in this role, learning these other parts about software development. Like, again, if you have this opportunity at work, I guess that's the word I'm trying to plant, is like, instead of this being like a shitty scenario for you, if you call it an opportunity, okay? If you call it an opportunity, what are the things? Literally, label it an opportunity. What is it an opportunity for? Make a list of all the things that it's an opportunity for. It might not be on the surface like the same list of opportunities that you get as a developer, but I bet you if you go sit down, call it an opportunity, and make a list of all the things that it will help you be a better software developer for, you'll have a list of stuff. And that's the takeaway that I want to leave you with in this video is like, if you're in a situation like this and you're like, it feels unfortunate, it feels like it's not the thing you want. Okay, it might not be your final destination, And that's okay. Like, the role that I'm in is not my final destination. I've been doing it for 13 years. It's not my final destination. But there's a lot of valuable things that will help me go to the next level. And I have goals and aspirations to run my own software development company. And all the things I'm doing now and that I have been doing will be, accruing to what I want to be doing after, or at least what I'm aspiring to be. So I think if we try to look for these lessons along the way, I'm not saying it's easy because I can understand where you'd be frustrated. So I never mean to minimize that kind of stuff when I talk through things like this. But I sometimes skip over that because I'm trying to draw your attention to where the opportunity is. So I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. I hope that doesn't feel condescending. And I just encourage you to try putting that lens on when you're frustrated with your current situation. Like, what is the opportunity? What's the value that I could extract from this? So thanks for watching. If you have questions about software development, your career, leave them below in the comments. You can send an anonymous question in on codecommute.com. Or you can look for Dev Leader or Code Commute on any social media platform. Send me a message. I'm happy to try my best to answer with a video response. And thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.